There's been some furor, it seems, over the last few days about comments people have made on the Upper East Side with regard to the possible installation of accessible pedestrian signals. And people seem to think, first of all, that they're noisy, and secondly, that there's not a need for them. This is pretty disturbing to me and to the members of PASS, and actually to the blind and low vision community in New York City in general, because accessible pedestrian signals, especially the current generation of those, and we call them APSs for accessible pedestrian signal, are really designed to create minimum noise for the community while still being helpful and providing the information that's needed by travelers who are blind or visually impaired.
What happened when that rapid tick stopped, when that percussion stopped, pedestrians started getting the flashing red hand. That's your time to clear the intersection. The only time you should step off, you hear the rapid ticks. I'd like somebody, Joe, could you come over here and press the button? Sorry. And I want you to feel the vibration too. Press it all the way in. Good.
I don't feel the vibration.
Right. When is it going to vibrate?
Oh, when
vibrate?
I can cross, when I can stop.
Exactly. So,
There it is. Oh, wow.
okay. Let's cross. We're going to have plenty of time to cross.
It's true that APSs have what's called a locator tone, and that's a little ticking sound that is emitted so that when a person gets within 10 or 12 feet, they are going to hear that, so they can find the APS and then push the button to actually activate it. Now, if it can be shown, if there's a case where that really does actually come up and enter someone's apartment, if it can be really shown that that's true, there are solutions that have been tried in other places, such as shields that go over the top of the APS itself. And I think that the blind community is willing to work with DOT or whoever is necessary to check out whether that might possibly be a need, but that does not mean that you don't install APSs where they are required. They are also set in such a way that when the noise level around them decreases, so does their sound. They need to be heard above the environmental noise, but they don't need to be excessively loud. And so they've, in this generation of APSs that's now being used, that's really taken into account. We're bothered by this idea that we quote unquote, we don't have blind people on the Upper East Side who nobody up there crosses the street, no blind person crosses the street by themselves. There are people who are blind and visually impaired all around the city. We work all around the city. We shop and live, and so you never know when and where somebody who's blind might be coming up to a corner and might be needing the information that an APS provides. All the APS does is it lets somebody know when the walk signal is on. And as you know, in New York City now, anybody that walks around New York City sees all the places where there are signs, visual signs that say only cross on the walk. Well, why do they say that? They say that because the signaling patterns and the streetscapes and stuff have changed so much in the last few years and become so complicated that it is hard even for people with 20/20 to tell when the appropriate moment is to cross the street. In the same way, it used to be true that a person who was blind would learn when you come up to a corner, when you hear the parallel surge of traffic, that's when you can be confident that you can go across the street because that's when the light's in your favor. But again, with these changes in signaling and changes in traffic patterns, that's just not true in very many places. So the APSs are really needed just to provide the information that now the walk sign is on.
Fifth Avenue, Broadway, 23rd Street. It's a very wide crossing.
It's like 5 minute traffic, right? 5 lanes?
It's 6. Then there's a short sidewalk. But the problem here is that you will enter into pedestrian plaza areas that have no indication of where you should walk. There's no shoreline to follow, and there's very odd traffic information. There's no sidewalk. You feel that kind of funny surface under your feet?
Yeah.
I'd be really surprised if anybody would feel that reliably with a cane.
Yeah.
I'm standing in the traffic lane. You're not. There's nothing that changes here.
Yeah.
Virtually nothing.
Someone got hit, I think.
Nobody got hit.
So what are they going to do?
So there is no way, and the plaza is defined by a couple of huge planters on the north side behind you to your left.
Sorry.
That define the edge of the pedestrian plaza, but they're totally inadequate if you were a cane user to knowing that you were staying inside the actual plaza or walking into the parallel traffic. So there's no way of knowing, and as you'll see, the near parallel traffic surge does not exist here. There are no cars behind you on your left. The surge right now, because it's a little kind of area that often gets trapped, no traffic. So there's not a surge, even if you knew you were standing at the edge of a traffic lane, there's no near parallel traffic lane surge to tell you to go. I'll tell you that the walk sign just came on.
And this is basic life-saving information that is needed by all citizens in this city or visitors to this city or anyone traveling in this city. And that's why APSs are essential.